first couple of years of teaching, I gave up on my students and I said, they just can't get right. They just can't do right. They just can't do it. Maybe it's not that they can't do right. Maybe it's that they don't have a clear enough picture of what right is. You didn't become an educator so that you can live out somebody else's vision, so that you can either stoop down to the student's level and just assimilate to whatever they feel like doing on a particular day. Take it from chapter 2. There are 3 questions that you want to ask in order to set the vision and hold students to the expectation of that vision so that your class is now matching your vibe and you're feeling more comfortable and you're feeling as if you're walking in your purpose. Number 3 is actually my favorite question, but I'm gonna start with the first 2. Number 1 is, most of us have the perfect classroom, right? It's designed beautifully. You got the grass on the wall with the neon signs. I seen that trend, right? Most of us have the perfect class. It smells good. It's organized. It's orderly. We have the perfect classroom until students come in. And students come in and just throw it all the way off. And then our picture perfect paradise becomes the highway to hell, right? Your vibe may not match your classroom, or your classroom may not match the vibe that you wanted to have for it. Right? And I know that that can be frustrating, right? So sometimes your students are loud and unruly and they're disrespectful to one another, or maybe your students are too quiet and they won't speak up, they won't answer questions, they won't collaborate with one another. Whatever it is, whatever the vision, whatever you're thinking, the vibe that you were going for your classroom, it's not like functioning, it's not working how you wanted it to. And what ends up happening is that you assimilate down to what students are able to do. Now, the reason why that's a problem is because you assimilate down to where students are instead of bringing them up to your expectations. And now we're lowering expectations for students instead of bringing them to and holding them to high expectations. And not only is that a detriment to students and their overall performance and growth and achievement, but now it also makes you feel like you're just a facilitator and you're just babysitting basically, because you aren't going to be able to hold them to high expectations. You're coming down to their level. So what we have to do instead is hold them to the expectations of our vision. But the reason why most of us don't do that is because we've already given up on students. Can I be honest? This was me. I'm gonna be real with you guys. This was me, my first couple of years of teaching. I gave up on my students and I said, they just can't get right. They just can't do right. They just can't do it. I said, this is what I'm thinking my class should look like, or this is what I'm hoping would happen, but they're not capable of sitting in their seats. They're not capable of listening to me. They're not capable of not hurting each other's feelings and calling each other names and roasting each other. That's what was going on in my classroom. I was like, that's just who they are. They're not capable of it. And that's not true. Maybe it's not that they can't do right. Maybe it's that they don't have a clear enough picture of what right is. And that's why I want to help you understand how to paint and communicate your vision for your class. That's what we talk about in chapter 2 of 99% Human, 1% Amazing. The title of the chapter is Where Are You Going? Because we need to understand how to set a vision and hold students to the expectation of that vision. Before we get to the next point, I just have to let you know that my book, 99% Human, 1% Amazing, right now is free. All you have to do is cover the cost of shipping and I'll get it directly to you. So check the link in the description below. If you're receiving value from this video, you'll probably love the book. Now, I'm gonna show you exactly how to do this and do it the right way. So from Ellen DeGeneres to Steve Harvey and from Cardi B to the Bible, everybody says that without a vision, people perish. Meaning, if you don't first imagine in your mind and in your heart, like what you want this thing to look like, where you want this thing to go, it's really hard to end up getting to a successful place. So it's very important to have a vision, to craft a vision, to set a vision, and to let that run at the forefront of what it is that you're doing in your classroom so that you can hold everything to the expectation of that vision. Now, vision, Robin Jackson gave the best definition of vision that I've ever heard. And her definition of vision in your classroom is what you want to be true for 100% of your students. Yo, I love that definition. What you want to be true for 100% of your students. If you're not setting a vision this way, or if you're not setting a vision at all, your vision is not good. Because what you want to be true, the outcome that you want for 100% of your students, that's a real vision. Not, I want 70% of my students to achieve mastery. Why? Because what does that say about the other 30 students? What's going on with them? Well, if I could just have 50% of my students on grade level proficiency. Whoa, so the other 50% we just don't care about? So it's tough. It's different, but visions and goal setting are different. We can talk about goal setting at another time. You want to set realistic goals, right? Like you want to make sure that you have your numerical data, smarter goals, right? Fine. But when you set a vision, craft a vision that encompasses every student that is in your care. Every single student that you care about. And I'm going to show you how to do that right here, right now. There are 3 questions that you want to ask yourself. And you can find the editable resource in the book, but also at 1percentamazing.com/resources if you want to go through this. Again, it's taken from chapter 2. There are 3 questions that you want to ask in order to set the vision and hold students to the expectation of that vision so that your class is now matching your vibe and you're feeling more comfortable and you're feeling as if you're walking in your purpose. Number 3 is actually my favorite question, but I'm going to start with the first 2. Number 1 is, why did you become an educator? Why did you become an educator? What's the reason? So we talk about this all the time, like Simon Sinek, start with why, right? A lot of times at the beginning of the school year, they ask us, what's your why? Why did you become an educator? And I think I don't think we always have to do deep dives on the why, so I'm not going to spend too much time here, but I do think it's important to keep that in our mind. So my why is different now than it was when I first started. But when I first started, I had a why. The reason why I started education was because, or why I became an educator, was for a 2-part reason. 1, because as I reflected over my educational career and realized how much I struggled as a student, not academically, I was flying academically. I was valedictorian in 5th grade. In New York, we had valedictorian in 5th grade. I was valedictorian in 5th grade. I think I was ranked 40th in my class coming out of 8th grade, and I had a 4.7 weighted GPA graduating high school. So like, grades were not the thing. Behavior was not the problem, but that was the issue. I was well behaved, I had good grades, and people didn't know I existed, and I hated it. I felt like I'd never connected with anybody, not students, not peers, not teachers, not staff, and nobody. And that's what I said, man, I want to become an educator. I want to become a teacher because I want to be the teacher that I never had. I can't, over my whole K-12 career, I can't look back and name one teacher where I was like, wow, you made an immense impact on me. Thank you so much. Right? I'm grateful for the teachers that I have, but I can't name one where I'm just like, that person changed my life. All of my influences are in my house, in my church, in the community, like not the teachers. And I said, I don't want anybody as a student to have to go through that. I want every student to know that there's somebody in the building that loves, cares for, and supports you, and I'm going to be that person. The other part, that the reason why I became an educator, what really solidified it for me, was that I didn't have my first black educator in public school until I was a senior in high school. And I said, I need to go ahead and do that. I want to be who I wanted to have, right? So that's why I became an educator. But think about why you became an educator. What was your why? What's your why now? Because again, my why has shifted, but what's your why now? What is it that you do? So that's question number 1. Number 2 is, what are your core values, principles, and beliefs? Core values, principles, and beliefs. Those are the things that are going to drive this vision forward. Because it's like the laws that your classroom are built on. Core values, principles, and beliefs. If you don't have core values, principles, and beliefs, it's like a lawless society, right? It's like the purge. People are doing whatever they want. But do you have a core value of like integrity, like honesty, of we're going to treat people with respect and kindness? Because if so, then that's going to start to target your focus when you're talking about how students are going to show up. If you have a belief in a collaborative workspace, I expect for there to be what I call controlled chaos in your classroom. I expect for it to be a little loud, right? Because you're having students engage in positive discourse. Now, because you expect them to be collaborative, you're going to encourage them to communicate with one another, but you're going to encourage them to communicate about on-topic information because they're collaborating, they're working together. Now, somebody in a different classroom who believes in more of a independent realization approach, your classroom, I expect it to be quieter, more zen, more relaxed, more chill, right? Because you are thinking students need a quiet and productive workspace for them to independently realize this information. 2 completely different approaches. Every classroom across the planet is going to be different. So that's why I'm not saying there's a particular way that leads to success. I'm saying it needs to be built on your core values, principles, and beliefs. Your core values, principles, and beliefs are going to, again, be the baseline for it. It helps you to realize what to prioritize. One of my one of my favorite lines in The Incredibles, the first one, not the second one, or the third one. Is there a third one? I don't know if there's a third one. But the first one, my favorite lines, the reason why the villain became a villain was because he said there were some other people who were supers and he felt bad that he didn't have any superpowers. So he wanted to give or create a way for normal people to get superpowers. And here's the line, here's what he said. And when everybody is super, nobody will be. And for some reason, when I was 11 years old, that thing just stuck with me. And I think about that when I now think about priorities. If everything is a priority, nothing will be, right? And so if you don't have specific sets of core values, principles, and beliefs, just a good foundation, just some of them, then you can treat everything as important. And if everything is important, that's like you're spreading yourself too thin, try to address everything and holding students to a picture of perfection. And that's literally impossible. So rather than holding them to a picture of perfection where they need to do everything right, what are the core values? We are honest in this classroom, right? We treat people with positivity, kindness, love, and respect. So now when I see somebody roasting somebody in my classroom, it's like, no. In this classroom, we have a core value of respecting ourselves and respecting others. What you're doing right now is not respectful. That's not allowed in here. So when you build it on core values, principles, and beliefs, then it tells you what to target. All right, come on, let's go on to the next one. I told you 3 is my favorite. 3 is my favorite. So number 3 is, if you're finding value in the concepts taught in this video, you will probably love the masterclass. 99% human, 1% amazing. The masterclass is really where we do a deeper dive in every single chapter of the book, every single of these videos, hours of content just for you, as well as live monthly coaching calls where we get on Zoom and we talk about the concepts in the book, where we help each other create impactful change in our students. Consider signing up, link in the description below. What bothers you more than anything else? What bothers you more than anything else? Because that is going to really help focus in on your vision, what you want to be true for 100% of students. I told you my why is different now than it was before. My why now, the reason why I do what I do is because I want to help 1 million students be able to live the life that they choose, not the life they're forced to settle for. Why? Because it frustrates me immensely when I see somebody who is living a life that they are forced to settle for because they don't have the choice to do anything else. They didn't build those foundational skills to create choices for themselves. Now they're living a life that they're forced to settle for. It pains me. So what drives me every day, feeds into my vision, is I want 100% of my students to be able to leave my class having built skills so that they can create choices for themselves. So they can have the choice to live the life they choose, not the life they're forced to settle for. You see what I'm saying? It's built on the core values, principles, and beliefs of being a lifelong learner, right? Of being kind to one another, to having an open mind and resilient mindset. And it ties into my why of being an educator, to make sure I care for each and every one of my students. So my vision for 100% of my students is what I just named. What's your vision? As a matter of fact, Pursuit of Excellence moment, comment down below. What is the vision that you have for 100% of the students that are in your class? What do you want to see happen for them? Right? Once you can synthesize a vision statement, which doesn't need to be one sentence, but it is going to encompass these 3 questions that we just answered. Craft a vision statement for yourself, because once you craft this vision statement based off of these 3 pillars, then it's going to drive everything you do in your classroom. And that's what allows you to hold students to those high expectations instead of coming down to where they are. Because now, just like I was saying earlier, now you can say, I have a vision for all my students to realize their full potential. So now when somebody's sleeping in class, you can tap them on the shoulder and say, no, listen, in my classroom, we're all going to realize our full potential. And you can't do that if you're sleeping. Your vision drives your approach, right? So now when you say, all right, I have a vision that everybody is going to leave academically adequate, right? So now when somebody is copying off of somebody else's paper, you can see that and you say, no, I need you to do your own work because I need you to understand this information, because I need you to leave my class being academically proficient, right? Your vision is now driving everything that you do. And when you have your vision driving everything that you do, you can hold students to those high expectations. I need you to understand that it is your classroom. and it is your vision that should be lived out. You didn't become an educator so that you can live out somebody else's vision, so that you can either stoop down to the student's level and just assimilate to whatever they feel like doing on a particular day, or you didn't become an educator so you can take the principal's vision and just try to fit it into your classroom. No, you were called to this work. Like God put a calling in your heart that said, I want to impact the world. This is how I'm going to make my difference in the world. And education is the vehicle in which you were called to use in order to make your impact. The issue is you just got in a vehicle and started driving it, and you didn't put a destination in GPS. So the reason why you're not getting to where you want to be is because your GPS is not taking you anywhere. What I need you to do is set your vision. Put that address in the GPS. Let it reroute you, recalibrate, get back on track, and head to where you wanted to go. Right? Set the vision, make it plain, come on, and get to where you need to be. A lot of the reasons why we don't get there is because we haven't set the vision. That's why the title of chapter 2 is called Where Are You Going? You first need to understand where you're going before you set out to get there. So use these questions to figure out where it is that you are going, all right? In the next video, we're gonna do another deep dive into chapter 3 of the book. Right? We're going to be talking about who you are as a teacher and what leads to transformation in the classroom. In the meantime, if you're still struggling with classroom management after setting a vision and explaining it and communicating it to students and still struggling with classroom management, check out this video right here, which is a full breakdown on classroom management that really is the strategy that I use to manage my students. Check that out. I know that is super valuable, and I'll see you in the next one.